So this is the first week. That's the first week of development. And it starts here on this side with the egg not yet fertilized. And the remarkable thing here is already that there is a space. So the DNA and the egg actually is surrounded by a space and a membrane, which is called the zona pellucida. There is already the potential, there's already the ground, but there is, and that is the interesting thing about space, there's already the potential for expression. Without that, without the space, there is no life. We all know that if you are more and more confined, you feel confined, you cannot breathe anymore. So you need create a space and then to breathe, and then an expression can happen. And this is already in some way, and it's not metaphorically, it's just for this structure, for the becoming organism, it's like that. And then there is the meeting between sperm and egg, and then here the so-called zygote. It's like it's one cell with two cells. It's like there's not one and not two. It's like they remain like two cells, but they only the DNA is kind of combining. And then it starts to, here you see the creation of the new DNA, and then the division, the first division is starting between two, and that kind of creates already a sense of left and right. Then the cells doubling again, there are 4 cells, then 8 cells, and so forth. And to about, here it says 16 cells, but it goes to the state, which it says here 58, 60 cells, where again, there is a separation. There are cells around, so we have to imagine that as a sphere. It's not a circle, it's a sphere, where the cells surrounding that sphere, and on one side there is a cell mass, and this cell mass will become the embryo. And this which is around here, the line of cells around this ball, will become the supportive structure. Then we call it changes name, extraembryonic mesoderm, chorion, amniotic cavity, all these structures around. And then this is floating down the fallopian tube, and then making contact with the uterine wall, where there is this first meeting, this first holding, because this the uterine wall is closing all the way around the it's not called embryo, it's called conceptus at that stage. And like a zoom into the conceptus already in the uterine wall. You see here that is this line of cells is the uterine wall, and this sphere is implanted already, or is starting to implant. And what is formed are these 2 layers here. These 2 layers, a layer in the back and a layer in the front. And the back becomes the ectoderm, and the front becomes the endoderm. And then there is a space in the back opening, which becomes which is the amniotic cavity, and a space in the front, which is the yolk cavity or yolk sac. This is a more schematic view or drawing, where you see this bilaminar disc. It is written here, bilaminar germ disc. This becomes the embryo. And all the things around are the supportive structures.
And here there is just another nomenclature, but more or less the hypoblast would be like the yellow, what is corresponding to what Thomas was referring before as to the front body with the yolk sac.
Yeah, and the back becomes the ectoderm. At that stage, the names are a bit different, but they become the ectoderm and the endoderm, and then in the middle, the mesoderm develops. Let's see. Here is another image of the implantation. It's a first making contact here on the left side, A. Then it's moving into the uterine wall, and the cells are reaching out for the blood of the mother, because that's what's looking for, is the nourishment. Then the uterine wall is closing here in the third picture. And this red one here are it's the blood vessels of the mother. So that it's trying to make that connection. But here also you have these two layers, the front and the back. And then the embryo starts to fold. That is a bit later. It's already, the heart is at the end of the third week, the heart is developing. Then the yolk sac in the front here, this is from a German book, the Dottersack. The yolk sac in the front is internalized, while the amniotic sac in the back is coming around to form the amniotic cavity and the amniotic fluid where the fetus is swimming in.
And in the middle, you see this kind of red line that is there to mark the middle layer. So with the notochord and the intraembryonic mesoderm.
One thing which I'm curious since many years is imagination. And often we think imagination is something which comes from a mental activity. You say you have an image, I have there's something I imagine. But what we forget is that the images or imagination is also fed by what comes as sensations or as information from the body. So it's not a one way, imagination is not a mental activity, but it's something which is bringing together how you feel, the sensations, your emotions, your thoughts, your memories. It brings all that together, and that is, I think, what's happening, or what I would like to propose to you is we're starting with some ideas about embryology and which relate to our adult body. So what is still there, because we all were that embryo at some point. So the fascinating thing is that in the first 8 weeks, after the first 8 weeks, the embryo is very, very little, a few centimeters. But this little embryo, which then is after these 8 weeks, it becomes the fetus. But this little embryo, or this minuscule fetus, has everything what we have. You have fingers, have all the organs are there. It's maybe not in the most differentiated way, but there's a liver, there's a pancreas, there are the vertebrae, there are the nerves, there are the muscles, everything is there. And so in this little thing, which is very very strange. Then it just needs to grow and mature. But we are, the arms, the fingers we have, trace back to this little embryo, 2 centimeters long. And I find it very fascinating because the place where, like my finger, the cells in my finger, I can trace these cells in my finger all the way back to the embryo. There are just more of them because they divided more. They're bigger, but it's not that suddenly a cell from my left finger ends up on the right finger, or cells on my right ear end up on the left ear. It's not, the cells are not crossing. It's what we know, it's that the nerves are crossing in the brain, but otherwise the matter, the cells, they are where they are from the beginning, and that begins with a bunch of cells, which in fact, there are 2 cells, then there are 4 cells, 8 cells, 16 cells, they double. And they form, they're not just wildly doubling, but they kind of, from the beginning, they form some kind of, they follow some kind of order where there is a developing a sense of up and down, left and right, and front and back. And this can still adapt in the first week, but at the end of the first week, this bunch of cells starts to flatten, and creating 2 layers of cells. So imagine cells are so small you cannot see them with the eyes, and yet in the beginning there are 2 layers of cells, and they define the front and the back. So these few cells in the front and these few cells in the back become certain parts in your body. And they are not changing, not the cells from the front are not suddenly going to the back and the back going to the front. They define your basic orientation as a body plan. So well, one more thing is that the cells in the back are continuous with a space in the back, which is called the amniotic cavity. And the cells in the front are continuous with a cavity in the front, which is called the yolk sac or the yolk cavity. And so it's a little bit like having 2 balls. And yellow is in the front and blue is in the back. And where these two meet are these 2 layers. So here the meeting is this disc, these 2 layers. And these 2 layers become the embryo. Only these 2 layers become the embryo. The rest, the bag in the front and the bag in the back are becoming other structures. And eventually this bag in the front will come, a part of it comes inside to form the digestive tube, and the cells in the back are becoming the nervous system and the skin, the outer layer of the skin. And the yolk sac in the back comes around and closes in the front to create the amniotic cavity where the embryo and then the fetus are swimming in, so that it provides the buffer for the fetus and the baby then before it's born. Does this make more or less sense, just as an image? So now, if we just take a moment to perceive our front and perceive our back. So what's in the front and what's in the back? And not to worry about all the different tissues and about, because of course, it gets much more complex how all the different tissues and embryological layers are interweaving with each other. But the feeling of front and the feeling of back, which is established in the first days after 1 week in this what's called a bilaminar disc. It's just the knowing of the cells in the front, we are in the front, and the knowing of the cells in the back, that we are the back, or they are the back. And just sitting with that, it's almost like a meditation. And the image, I give you the image of front and back, but then this image also is nourished by the sensations, because somehow we know what is front and what is back, or our cells know what is front and what is back. We have an embodiment of front and back. We know not only mentally, where our corporality tells us there is a front and there's a back. It's a very deep knowledge, if you want, a kind of a primordial knowledge. And that this front and this back is not finishing with the skin, but it's continuing in the front as a space around like the yolk sac, and it's continuing in the back around as the amniotic sac. And so you can, if you want to lean back a little bit, lean forward a little bit, just to feel the mass, the volume and the weight of the cells in the front and the weight of the cells in the back. You can close your eyes if you want, or leave them open. Sometimes it's good for a moment to close the eyes, because then our perception automatically goes more inside. So the image can meet also sensations coming from the body. And you lean a little back as if you're pouring fluids. It's like with millions or billions of little water balloons, your cells. And if you lean a little back, you shift your weight a little back, the back is more weighted. The cells in the back are more weighted, and if I shift forward, the cells in my front are more weighted. And I can go a little bit forward, a little bit backward to really get into that perception of the back and the perception of the cells in the front. And in the front, it's more the digestive system, the organs, which contribute to this sense of density, of volume. And when I shift to the back, it's more my central nervous system. And just noticing whatever is there in the moment. Also, if there are thoughts or memories or images, sometimes it's like, it's not like a regression, but sometimes if we connect with this embryologic ground, it's like a almost like a dream state where also images can come, images, whatever, of water, of diving, of breathing underwater, like in a dream. It's possible that there are sensations coming which are very, very old, which are even not conscious or we're not conscious. Just by shifting, pouring the weight in the front and pouring the weight into the back. And the cells of the embryo, they know that they are in the back and they know that they are in the front and they are not shifting around um, or wandering from front to back. And there's already a sensation of up and down. So there's also this dimension of what is pouring into the legs, into the feet, and what is emerging into the heavens or sky, like up, like this opening of that dimension up and down in the embryo. This already, even swimming in the amniotic fluid without much gravity, but there is this knowledge of the cells of the place where they are. And then at the end of the second week, a central structure is developing, which is called the notochord, and it's something like a soft structure. And this notochord, so-called notochord, is defining the midline. And so this is the beginning of a defining of left and right. So the cells on my right side have been on the right side already when the embryo was 3 weeks old or 2 weeks old or almost from the beginning. And the cells on the left, they were there from the beginning when I was tiny, 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 just a few millimeters of size. And so we can also, with that image, we can also shift our weight a little bit to the left. Feel how the left side becomes heavy. All the cells there connecting, pouring the weight into the left side, while the other side, the right side, kind of lifts a little bit, kind of gets lighter. And as I shift the weight on the right side becomes heavier and the left side is becoming lighter. And this is really the very, very basic orientation we gain from the embryo state, is the perception or the knowledge more than the perception, because at 3 weeks, there's no nervous system, there's no brain, there is no organ to perceive. So it is more like the cells knowing rather than the nervous system or brain knowing. It's more elementary, more primal than later that the brain and nervous system is registering what's happening on the cellular level. But before, there is kind of a primal knowledge, primal consciousness of left, right, of up and down and front and back. So the basic dimensions, the basic planes are established very, very early without the need of any nervous system, any brain. It's just a fact of presence, place, and space, and weight, and mass, and volume, and density, or levels or grades of density. So I can continue shifting my weight a bit forward, a little back, left, right. I can also lift my head a little bit. I can lower my head a little bit, just to also to get this sense of down, up and down, of orientation, reaching with the head a little bit up and following the weight of my head down. And then in this three planes, in these three dimensions, moving as free as you like, taking with that your arms, letting your arms rise or float or change your position. You can also stand or lay down or any. So it's also in standing. Or in standing, it would be also just feel more weight on the right or on the left side, more on the front, on the back, on the heels, on the toes, and letting that be as a free way of finding your own embodiment, finding that nourishment for the imagination from an image, a mental image, but also nourished by the sensations and the feedback coming back from your corporality, what your corporality is there as a ground to inform the imagination. Or if you want to roll or to be in any position, just being free of any different relationships with the earth more. And then take another 5 minutes or so just to continue as you like without needing to come back to the screen or the camera, no worrying about anything, just to continue in this exploration in the way which is meaningful for you now in this moment. And which may be connected to previous experiences, memories. How you perceive front and back and left and right and up and down.